Recently, these words were released publicly and shared widely for people everywhere to read, reflect upon, and draw inspiration from in their own lives. They were written by the remarkable man who, on a bitterly cold and frozen January afternoon in 2009, took decisive command of a completely powerless Airbus A320 passenger jet and expertly guided it in a controlled glide onto the surface of the Hudson River, while the aircraft was still moving at approximately 150 miles per hour. Through his extraordinary skill, judgment, and composure under extreme pressure, he successfully brought every single soul on board out of what could have been a deadly situation and ensured their complete safety. In total, all 155 passengers and crew members who were aboard that flight walked away alive that day, with not even one life lost, despite the overwhelming odds and challenging conditions they faced. This man's full name is Captain Chesley Burnett Sullenberger III. Although to the world at large and to millions who followed his story, he is known simply and affectionately as Sully. For the past 17 years since that unforgettable incident captured the attention of the entire nation and beyond, his name has come to symbolize one defining quality more strongly than any other: a complete, absolute, unshakable, and almost superhuman degree of calm. This is the rare kind of calm that refuses to falter or give way even when both engines of a large commercial airliner suddenly die at an altitude of 3,000 feet directly above one of the most densely populated and busy cities in all of America. It represents the kind of calm that permits incredibly rapid, yet highly accurate mental calculations and life-saving decisions, the sort that even sophisticated computers might struggle to match in the limited time available during such an emergency. This same profound calm enabled him to take charge and carefully guide an entire plane filled with strangers through what looked like certain death, ultimately leading them safely to the other side of the crisis. Yet behind the bright and triumphant public legend of that heroic achievement lies a much more personal, painful, and devastating truth that has unfolded slowly over time. The exceptional photographic memory and the razor-sharp, precise, encyclopedic quality of mind that made such remarkable calm and effective decision-making possible during that critical moment are now being gradually, steadily, and irreversibly stolen from him by the progressive effects of Alzheimer's disease, a serious medical condition for which no cure has yet been discovered despite extensive ongoing scientific efforts. The profound question that continues to resonate with many people long after they finish reading or hearing about his recent announcement is simply this: what deep inner strength and personal fortitude must it require for a man with Sully's lifetime of achievements and public image to choose to speak these honest and vulnerable words aloud to the world? Throughout his distinguished career and personal life, he has always been someone who told the truth even when it was difficult and under the most intense forms of pressure. And he has repeatedly modeled genuine courage for a nation and a world that desperately needed such examples at various times. Now, carrying the same steady, measured, and unshakable resolve that allowed him to bring the plane down safely onto the river, he is once again telling the truth in public. He does this not because the task is easy or comfortable, but because he genuinely believes that courage has the power to be contagious and that the world continues to need fresh demonstrations of it even in this new chapter of his journey. If the inspiring story and real-life actions of Captain Sully have ever given you a stronger belief that ordinary men and women are genuinely capable of achieving extraordinary things when everything important is on the line and the pressure feels overwhelming, then please consider leaving a sincere and heartfelt tribute in the comments section below. Such a tribute would appropriately honor one of the greatest aviators of his generation as well as the bravest kind of human being who continues to demonstrate quiet strength and integrity in the face of new personal challenges. It is particularly humbling and deeply inspiring to recognize that the single greatest act of heroism in the second Major chapter of a true hero's life may not occur dramatically at high altitude in the cockpit of an airplane, but instead can take place more quietly at an ordinary desk through the careful writing and public release of honest, truthful words. From his earliest years, young Sully Sullenberger was never the sort of child who approached the idea of flying with the same loose, weightless, fantastical wonder and imagination that many other children typically experience when they dream about becoming pilots. He was born on the 12th day of January in the year 1951 in the small, flat, sun-baked town of Denison, Texas, situated in the northeastern corner of the state, close to the border with Oklahoma. It was a place far removed from any oceans or impressive city skylines. Yet the broad, permanent horizon and the dramatic open sky above it became the most captivating sight for a boy with his focused nature. His father worked professionally as a dentist, while his mother dedicated herself to teaching in school. And together they maintained a household built on strong values of discipline, orderliness, precision in all tasks, and the firm belief that things should always be done correctly, because any lesser standard was simply not acceptable within their family. There was never any allowance for wasteful excess or casual looseness in daily routines or expectations. A clear and consistent standard of excellence was upheld and met through quiet, internally enforced commitment rather than loud proclamations. This foundational ethos of rigorous self-discipline would later become the invisible but powerful architectural framework supporting everything significant that Sully would go on to build and achieve in both his professional and personal life. He was never someone who loudly announced his ambitions at the dinner table or performed them publicly to gain approval from adults or peers. Instead, he carried a deep, quiet, and unshakable inner certainty from a very young age, comparable to the natural way other children instinctively know when they are hungry or feeling cold. By the time he entered his teenage years, that powerful inner certainty had already developed into a clear life direction, complete with its own timeline and milestones. He began taking serious, formal flying lessons at the age of 16, approaching the activity with complete commitment as the important first practical step along a path he had already chosen entirely for himself, rather than treating it as a mere hobby or passing interest. His experienced flight instructor, who himself had a background as a military pilot, quickly recognized in the young Sullenberger something special that went well beyond ordinary aptitude or natural talent for aviation. The boy did not merely learn the mechanical basics of flight. He absorbed every concept deeply and thoroughly, committed vast amounts of procedural information to memory with striking accuracy, and processed complex technical details with a level of mental precision that was noticeably unusual, even among dedicated students of his age. This included an almost photographic ability to retain emergency checklists, instrument panel readings, spatial orientation principles, and step-by-step procedures that most other trainees required many years of repeated practice to approach and rarely ever fully equaled. After successfully graduating from his local high school, he earned a highly competitive appointment to the prestigious United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He completed his studies there in 1973, finishing near the very top of his class, and was commissioned as an officer in the United States Air Force shortly thereafter. Almost immediately, he was directed toward flying some of the most advanced, demanding, and unforgiving fighter aircraft in the American military arsenal during that era. These included the high-performance F-4 Phantom and, later in his service, the complex F-111. Both types of aircraft were known for being fast, highly responsive, and extremely intolerant of even minor pilot errors, where mistakes could lead to permanent and severe consequences. Successfully flying them required precisely the combination of steady nerves under high stress, flawless retention of complex procedures, and the mental ability to process many variables simultaneously and arrive at correct solutions quickly. qualities that Sullenberger had been carefully developing and refining since his teenage years back in Texas. He honorably served a total of 11 years in the United States Air Force before transitioning to civilian life. When he left military service, he brought with him invaluable experience and instincts that no amount of standard civilian pilot training could ever fully replicate or create from nothing. This included deeply ingrained muscle memory for handling genuine emergencies and the practiced, reflexive ability to function effectively when the wrong decision would leave no second chance at all.